Hi dear students, welcome back. So continuing with our lectures on cardiac physiology and medicine and the series of where we have studied various changes in ECG wave formations, all those. Now next is about the JVP. So this is another topic people find it really difficult after the ECG, or for some ECG is much better by simply learning the PQRS complex, but learning this is slightly more difficult than learning the ECG. So today I will be explaining to you what is JVP, what is the importance of JVP, and how the JVP waves are formed, and some of the very important pathological significance of JVP. Okay, so now first of all, let us give so this is the internal jugular vein. Let us mark this. This is internal jugular vein. This is the right atrium. This is the right ventricle. Okay, this is the right atrium, right ventricle. This is the pulmonary artery. Okay, pulmonary artery. This is the superior vena cava, and this is the inferior vena cava. Okay, so hope you understood basically what is the labeling. Okay, so let us start. Now what is JVP means? What is JVP? JVP is jugular venous pulse or pressure. It is pulse or pressure, both. That is pulse as well as pressure, because here we are measuring the pressure within this system, internal jugular vein, as well as we have to get the waveform, and the waveform is what is the pulse. Okay, so we are getting both the pressure as well as the waveform in the jugular or internal jugular vein. And why is this pressure within the internal jugular vein is so important? Because see, this right atrium, it is connected to the what? Vena cava, especially the superior vena cava. And is there any valve here? No, there is no valve here. It's valveless system. So what happens is, any pressure within the right atrium can be easily felt in the vena cava system, which is not accessible for us, but we can easily access, not easily, but we can access internal jugular vein. So whatever change in pressure in this atrium can be accessed in this internal jugular vein, and any pathology which is related to this entire right side of the heart, including the pulmonary artery, will have a difference or will affect the pressure within the atrium, definitely within the atrium, and this pressure variation in the atrium will be reflected in the internal jugular vein. So by measuring the pressure within the internal jugular vein, we can understand the problems which is related to the right heart. Okay, right heart and the pulmonary veins. Okay, so this is what is the importance of JVP. Now let us see how different waveforms are formed. Okay, now considering the same image once again, as you know, the markings and all. Okay, basically this is the right atrium, right ventricle, again pulmonary artery, and all those things. Now what is the normal pressure within this pulmonary or within the internal jugular vein? It is 3 centimeter of water level. Okay, 3 centimeter of water level, which is a normal pressure within the internal jugular vein. So any variation from that is indicative of a pressure variation in the right atrium. Okay, that is, if it becomes 4, means there is a pressure increase in the right atrium. So let us see what is the basic physiology behind the JVP or jugular venous pulse and pressures. Okay, and how the waveform is seen. Now basically it's describing the right heart. So what happens to the right heart? Initially it contracts, right atrium contracts, and when it contracts, the blood flows into the right ventricle. You know this, there is no doubt. But as there is no valve, as I told you, this contraction will have some effect. Okay, some flow or actually we can't call it as a regurgitation because it's a pathology, but as there is no valve, some pressure is felt in this vena cava system, and this pressure is transmitted to the internal jugular vein when the right atrium contracts. You know that we have studied the cardiac cycle. When we said there is second rapid filling phase, there is a contraction of the right atrium where there is a rapid filling of this right ventricle, as well as the left ventricle, left side also of the heart also does this. Okay, now, so more importantly, the pressure is being felt in the internal jugular vein, and due to this, so imagine if you have kept a ball here. If you have kept a ball here, this ball will rise, isn't it? This ball will rise. Just for an imagination, okay, ball will rise because of the pressure. Okay, it will rise to a new position somewhere here. Similarly, the wave form will also rise. Okay, that is what we are going to see. So, as I told you, there is a rise due to right atrial contraction. There is a rise in pressure in the internal jugular vein, and there is an upstroke wave. Okay, there is an upstroke wave. So this upstroke wave is called the A wave. So this is the first wave system of the heart, or in the JVP. Okay, now what happens? Once there has happened a right atrial contraction and there is A wave formed, what happens next? There is atrial relaxation, isn't it? The atria relaxes. After contraction, after systole, it is a diastole, simple thing, not much complicated like in the ventricles. It is just simple dilatation. Okay, so what happens? The pressure has to fall because it's dilating. So the pressure has to fall down. Okay, it will come down because it's dilating. So now, what happens to the wave? What happens to the waveform? The waveform will also fall, isn't it? But does it fall completely? No. Why? Because as this is dilating, there is something happening here. This is contracting. Ventricles are contracting. Okay, ventricles are going into what is known as the isovolumetric contraction, and all of a sudden this valve is closed. Okay, the atrioventricular, the right atrioventricular valve is closed, and when this valve is closed, all of a sudden it pushes some blood. Okay, imagine that suddenly flap closes there. So if this sudden flap closure will push some blood back, so will apply some pressure backwards. Okay, while it was relaxing and pressure was falling, it will just, this snap closure of the atrioventricular valve will increase the pressure within the atrium, which will be again transmitted to the internal jugular vein, and due to which there is a small period of rise of pressure. So this was due to, the first wave was due to atrial contraction, and this was due to atrial relaxation, okay, or diastole relaxation. Now all of a sudden what happened? This was during the closure of the ventricles, or due to the bulging of the atrioventricular valve or right atrioventricular valve, which is the tricuspid valve, bulging of the tricuspid valve into the atrium, which will raise a little bit of pressure. Okay, now next phase is, now once that bulging and the problem, everything is solved, the atrium continues to relax, isn't it? Atrium is still relaxing, only thing was the valve just pushed, the bulging happened. Okay, so atrium is still relaxing, no problem for it, so it is just relaxing. So now before that, this wave is called a C wave, which is due to bulging of tricuspid valve. Now there is a descent, there is a decrease in pressure because atrium is still relaxing, so that is known as X descent, okay, which is due to continued atrial relaxation. Okay, continued atrial relaxation, the atrium is still relaxing, so there is a continued atrial relaxation, no problem, it is there. Okay, now what happens in the next stage? Let's see here. In the next stage, what happens is atria is relaxed. Okay, we'll take it here. Atria is completely relaxed. Okay, now this valve is closed, but something else is also happening. There is venous return. Okay, there is a venous return. So this venous return of blood completely fills the atrium, venous return, okay, the venous return of blood completely fills the atrium, and again the pressure rises. Due to the venous return, the pressure then again rises. Then when the pressure rises, which is transmitted in the IJV, isn't it, internal jugular veins, so there is an upstroke due to the pressure rise, due to filling. After diastole there is a filling. The initial this was due to, the first upstroke was due to systole. Okay, then the V wave, which is going to come next, which is due to what? It is due to the venous return and increasing the pressure in the right atrium due to the venous return. Okay, so which give rise to the V wave. So it goes again up. What happens next? So this was, I would say, the first stage, okay, where there is atrial systole. Then we saw the atrial relaxation. Then what happens? It continued by the tricuspid valve being just pushing inside into the atrium, and then we saw there was atrial filling or atrial filling of the blood, the formation of a V wave. Now once the atrium is fully filled, what happens next? So that's the fourth stage, when the atrium is completely filled. Okay, atrium is completely filled. What happens next? This valve gets open. Okay, the valve gets open and the blood in the atrium completely gushes into the ventricle. That is the first rapid filling, isn't it? The blood just simply gushes into the ventricle. So again the pressure should come down, isn't it? The pressure should come down, which is the Y descent. So this is the Y descent, okay, and this was the X descent before that. So the pressure falls, which give rise to the Y descent. So it's very simple. It's basically very simple. It's atrial contraction. Okay, then atria starts to relax, but there is simultaneously ventricular contraction. So there is closure of AV valve. So pushing of the AV valve into the atrium, pressure rises, but atria continues to relax, X descent. But as it relaxes, it gets filled with blood by venous return, and once it is completely filled with blood, the AV valve reopens and the blood flows into the ventricle, which decreases the pressure further. So this is basically the JVP waveform. Okay, now let us see how can you relate this to atrial systole and diastole and ventricular systole diastole. Okay, like we did in ECG. Coming back to the same waveform, we saw that this period is so till this period is the atrial systole. After that, atria starts to relax. Till this period, it is the atrial systole. Now after that, is there any other systole happening? No. After that, completely it's the diastole. So it's the atrial diastole. Atrial diastole takes around, you know that it takes around 0.7 seconds. So it's more, and atrial systole takes only 0.3 seconds. Okay, it's more than double, 0.3 and 0.7 seconds. No, it's 0.1 second, isn't it? It's much faster than 0.3. It's 0.1 seconds. 0.1 seconds. Okay, so because you see complete diastole, because it's coming down, the pressure decreases. Okay, only filling happens and no contraction, and then there is no contraction still. It's just a passive filling. Filling of the ventricle. Here it was the filling of the atrium, then filling of the ventricle. Okay, so there is no contraction in any of the stages of the atrium. Now what about ventricle? What about the ventricle? Ventricle, we said this is the place where ventricle starts contracting, isn't it? This is where we saw that ventricle starts contracting and the AV valve closure happened, and due to the AV valve closure, the C wave developed, isn't it? So from there till what stage? Thus we have the ventricular contractions. So let us see what happens from here. From C wave, it was a contraction. So the atrium, the ventricle contracted, but the auricle was still, or atrium was still in a relaxed phase. So the pressure kept on falling because of the relaxation. Then there was a filling due to venous return. Okay, filling due to venous return, and at this stage, Okay, filling due to venous return, and atrium gets filled at this stage. Till this stage is the ventricular systole, and after this, now when the blood fills into the atrium, ventricle, blood fills into the ventricle, that is the AV valve is open and the blood is getting filled into the ventricle. That is where the ventricle starts diastolic, that is ventricular diastole, because during diastole the filling happens. So that is the phase where we get the ventricular diastole. Okay, so this is how you can relate the various activities of the JVP with the cardiac cycle: atrial systole, a complete atrial diastole, and then ventricular systole, ventricular diastole. So see, this is happening something simultaneously, isn't it? So just know this, but at least you should know the waveform. They will ask you more commonly the waveform. This, even if you don't know, no problem. Okay, more important is the waveform. Now let us see some of the very important anomalies. There are lots of anomalies with related to this, but most commonly asked and the recently asked questions is what I am discussing now. Most important pathology which is associated with this and commonly asked is a large A wave. Okay, large A wave is also called as giant A wave. Okay, giant A wave. That is, this A wave, it just goes very high. Okay, it becomes like this. In what case? What is A wave? A wave is the atrial contraction, okay, which is related to atrial contraction. So in any case, atria has to contract more. Okay, in any case, atria has to contract more. If there is any pathology where atria has to contract more, then the A wave will rise, because the pressure will rise. When atria is contracting more forcefully, then the A wave will rise. And what is the condition which can lead to, which can cause A wave or atria to contract more forcefully? Let us come back to this diagram. So atria is contracting more forcefully when there is some pathologies. What pathologies? Most importantly, that is the tricuspid valve has now become stenosed. That is, the opening has become very narrow. In that case, for the blood to flow from the atrium to ventricle, it has to contract more forcefully. So as a result, the pressure will increase. So one very important cause is the tricuspid stenosis. Now second reason why the atrium has to contract very forcefully, if there is right ventricular hypertrophy. Okay, right ventricular hypertrophy means this segment, this area is very hypertrophic, it is very strong. So to fill up the ventricle with blood which is hypertrophic, it has to contract again very forcefully. So any case where there is right ventricular hypertrophy is the another cause for it. Okay, now third cause, let us see the third cause. Third cause is pulmonary stenosis. So which is the pulmonary artery? This is the pulmonary artery. So if this has gone for stenosis, again the pressure, back pressure, and there is more force required to just pull the blood from the ventricle to the pulmonary artery. So again, in case of pulmonary stenosis, we have the raise, or we have gotten giant A wave. And finally, pulmonary hypertension. Again, the same reason, that is the backfiring because of the pulmonary or increased resistance. In fact, in pulmonary hypertension, we see increased resistance in the pulmonary artery, so which also causes a giant A wave, or which is called as a large A wave. So one is tricuspid stenosis. So the main reason is, say this, it's tricuspid stenosis, right ventricular hypertrophy, pulmonary stenosis, and pulmonary hypertension. Simple, isn't it? Now let us see the next wave, which is much larger A wave. Okay, this was already a large A wave. Second is much larger A wave, which is known as Cannon A wave. Which is actually larger than this. Okay, which is larger than this. So it comes like this and it is much larger than that. So which is called as cannon wave. So this is called the cannon wave. And why does cannon wave occurs? Now the reason for cannon wave is that the ventricles, the atrium has to pump against a closed tricuspid valve. So this is completely closed. Earlier we saw there was stenosis, or it has to contract more, okay, which is actually not completely closed. Still the AV valve was open, but when it has to contract against a closed valve, the pressure buildup will be so high that the waveform will be going much higher. So this is basically when atrium has to contract against a closed valve, atrium against a closed valve system. Okay, so this is the problem what occurs. Then see, when does a pathology arises? When there is a closed valve. Usually what happens is, one main problem is incomplete heart block. Incomplete heart block. So complete heart block. So what happens with the complete heart block? If there is a big block, we have already discussed before that there is something known as AV node here, isn't it? And the impulse comes here, it's the AV node, and transmits it to the ventricle. Now if there is a complete block here, there is nothing, the AV nodal rhythm cannot be transmitted to the ventricle. What happens? The ventricle will develop its own rhythm, isn't it? Ventricle, because actually it was like a continuous format, it just goes and hits AV node, and from AV node it goes into the ventricle, isn't it? So but now this area is blocked, means for ventricle there is no other option but to develop its own rhythm. So ventricle contracts its own way, atrium contracts its own way. Okay, both are independently contracting, and at one particular moment there will be a stage where atrium is also in systole, when ventricle is also in systole and atrium is also in systole. So means when ventricle is in systole, you know that this valve gets closed, isn't it? When atrium is in systole, when ventricle is in systole, you know that this valve gets closed. So now but at the same moment, due to this particular pathology of complete heart block, atrium is also contracting, ventricle is also contracting, and now as ventricle is contracting, the AV valve is closed, so means atrium has to contract against a closed valve. So the pressure buildup is so high that we get a cannon wave. So this is the first reason, incomplete heart block or third degree heart block. Third degree heart block is what we find this. Okay. Now second is ventricular tachycardia. What happens? Almost the same thing happens. That is, ventricle keeps on contracting. It's keep on contracting, relaxing. That is systole, diastole. That is what is tachycardia, and the atria doesn't have any problem. So what happens? Atria will contract its own way, but ventricle is contracting very unconventionally. So at one particular stage, again there will be a situation where ventricle is also contracting, atria is also contracting. Okay, because ventricle is continuously contracting, it's not in an ordered fashion. That is what is tachycardia is. Okay, so then what happens is this, you know that when ventricle contracts, this area gets blocked, and when this area gets blocked, there is what? Atrium is contracting against a closed atrioventricular valve, so it can result in cannon wave. Okay, so these are the two conditions. Just note it down on the side. These are the two conditions where we have got cannon wave irregularly. So now what is irregular A wave or cannon wave? So this is the A wave, comes down, C wave, descent, V wave, then it happens. Then again cannon. Okay, so again A wave, not cannon wave. So again it will be A wave, then descent, okay, the V wave, then an irregularly Cannon wave. So this is also Cannon, this is also a wave, this is also a wave, this is also a wave, but this is a Cannon wave, this is a Cannon wave. In between you have a normal a wave. So this is what is irregular Cannon waves. Okay, irregular Cannon waves. Okay, so these are two conditions where you get an irregular Cannon wave irregularly, ventricular tachycardia and third degree or complete heart block. Then there is a condition where there is regularly Cannon waves. Okay, Cannon waves are regular normally, every time it will just be, what I mean is this is also a Cannon wave. Okay, this also becomes Cannon wave. There is no normal a wave. Okay, regularly Cannon wave. That is a condition where is known as junctional rhythm. A condition where there is a junctional rhythm, or you can call it as nodal rhythm. Okay, nodal rhythm. What is nodal rhythm? Coming back to the same picture, this is the, you know that this is the AV node and this is the SA node. Now imagine SA node fails. SA node is actually the one which sets the rhythm. Now imagine this SA node fails. There is no SA node. SA node fails. Then who has to set the rhythm? AV node has to set the rhythm. So AV node, when sets the rhythm, it has to control both ventricles and it has to control the atria. Earlier SA node controlled the atria and AV node actually controlled the ventricle. Now AV node is controlling the ventricle as well as the atria. So now what is happening? Both will contract, same thing. Okay, both will contract together at the same time. So this one, as I told you here in the previous examples, I told you at one particular time, both cases, and at one particular time only, not frequently, at one particular time only what we get, both atria and ventricle contracting. But here what is seen, as AV node is controlling both atrium and ventricle, it regularly contracts together. So when ventricle contracts, AV node is closed, sorry, AV valve is closed, and what we get is a high pressure contraction and we get a very huge Cannon wave. So this is where we get Cannon wave regularly, that is known as junctional rhythm or nodal rhythm. Okay, junctional rhythm or nodal rhythm. So these are the questions which has been asked. Okay, now next, finally, a case where there is absent A wave. Absent A wave. Where do you see absent A wave? Simple, when there is no atrial contraction, when there is no normal atrial contraction, means the case where there is atrial fibrillation. Atrial fibrillation is a condition where atria simply and asynchronously simply contracts, not even contracts, it will be like mild contraction. There is no much raise in pressure. It's simply like it contracts of no much significance, I would say. Like it will contract, relax, that is what is fibrillation. So there won't be any raise in pressure here, so that is there will be an absent A wave. So these are the pathologies which are related to that. So once again, just a very quick recap of what we have studied. Starting with what is JVP, what is the significance of JVP, you know what it is now. You can measure the pressure changes in the right heart, okay, especially the right atrium, because there is no valve. Okay, now what happens first is right atrial contraction, we get the A wave, and after that there is right atrial relaxation where we get the slight descent downwards. Then after that there is the ventricular contraction for a short period, not for a short period, in fact ventricular contraction where the tricuspid valve is pushed into the ventricle and this causes the C wave. Then there is continued atrial relaxation. Then once atria is fully relaxed, it gets filled up, and after that it just pushes, like the AV valve is open and the blood fills inside, okay, where the pressure rises. Now I just said you about this atrial systole, diastole and ventricular systole, diastole, how can you keep it there. Then after that a large A wave whenever the atria is contracting very forcefully, much more forcefully than required. That is seen in tricuspid stenosis. Okay, it can be due to ventricular hypertrophy, right ventricular hypertrophy. It can be due to pulmonary stenosis or pulmonary hypertension. Then Cannon waves when the right atrium is contracting against a closed AV valve. Okay, that is in case of third degree heart block, in ventricular tachycardia, and which is both of these cases is irregularly seen, whereas in case of junctional rhythm, that is nodal rhythm, it is very regularly seen. So that is about the JVP. In the next session, we will start with the pathologies, valvular heart disease, various heart disease, mitral stenosis, mitral regurgitation, all these things, and there are some various typical features of each which you have to study. So in the next session, we'll start with the valvular heart disease.